Travis Gibson with MGM Targets here. Today we're going to talk about doing the assembly of our attack target. There's a couple of things that have changed from previous versions, but that's all going to be stuff that we're going to go over today. First of all, what we want to talk about is what you're going to get when you purchase this. What should show up at your door. First thing, starting working from left to right here, is you're going to have 6 sections of the actual track. Okay, those are going to have a stud welded on one end and have a nut connection that you link those guys together with. The next thing that you're going to have is you're going to have the trigger cable and activator assembly, and then the trigger cable assembly stand, which puts that up on there. That's for the instructor or the guy that's running the course of fire to hit the activator to make the target actually work. The next thing you're going to have is the trolley assembly. This is where the 1x2 pieces of lath and your target goes on there. This is the part that actually travels forwards towards you when the target is activated. The next thing you're going to have is the power head assembly. That's got the cable in it that actually does the work that pulls the trolley in and makes the thing go. And then the last thing that's a little bit different that we're going to talk about some more in depth later is the cushioning assembly for when the trolley hits the end of the run that hits the tracks there and the target falls down. In the past we've used springs, but those guys were having some issues with them bending and breaking, so we've gone to a foam bumper assembly and it seems to be working out really good. When you go to assemble the track sections, that's usually the first thing that I like to do. You want to make sure that you start with the section that's furthest away from you, and the stud that's on the last section of track, that should be away from you, because the power head, that's going to have a stud on it as well, so you want to make sure that you have an empty slot on the far end, which is where the shooter is going to be standing. You want to try and set this up on a nice flat surface. It doesn't have to be great as far as you know, having some undulations in it and that sort of thing, but if you can keep it to where it's level, that's going to be best, because then what's going to happen is the target's not going to want to start creeping down before you're ready to activate it. The other thing is just go ahead and use a 3/4 inch wrench to tighten up the 1/2 inch nuts. Just make sure that the 2 track sections are pushed together nice and snug, and then snug down the 1/2 inch nut there. It doesn't take much. The next thing on the list to do is go ahead and assemble the trigger activator post and base. That's real simple. Just like with most of our target systems, you're going to have a standard H base and a piece of tube steel that slides onto that guy. And then your trigger activator slides right onto that piece. Before you get ready to connect the cable, the PTO cable, to the power head, you want to make sure that you've got that cable stretched out nice and straight. What that's going to do is it'll slide through the outer housing a lot smoother. It's going to be a lot easier to get that thing moving back and forth when you got to hook it up to the power head assembly. The other thing that you want to be very sure of is make sure that this black plunger is in the down position. Okay, make sure it's down like that, not up like this. If it's up like this little stopper is going to keep the dogs from locking back in. So just push down on it, push that dog in, and make sure that the black plunger is all the way down. The next thing we're going to talk about is the power head assembly and hooking the PTO cable up to it that actually does it's the trigger mechanism that gets the target rolling towards the shooter. One thing that I like to do before I get started on these things, just to double check, is I want to pull this top cover off of here and look inside here. We do our best when we're shipping these guys to get everything to where it's dialed in 100%, and when you're ready to, when you receive these products, they're ready to use. But sometimes UPS or some of the other guys beat us up and outsmart us a little bit. So what I like to do is get a couple of 7/16 end wrenches, and you want to pull these top nuts off of here. And when you get those off, what you're going to do is you just need to look inside here. And what you're looking for is you just want to make sure that this cable is wrapped on this left-hand spool, nice and neat. And you want to make sure, sometimes what will happen is in shipping, some things will get jog loose and that cable will jump off to one side or the other here. You just want to make sure that that cable is nice and tight, wrapped on this one spool here, and then you can put the power head cover back on there and you'll be in good shape. After you've got the trigger itself mounted on the stand in the post, the next thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and put the PTO cable into the power head. You're going to connect those two guys together. And like we talked about before, make sure that that cable is stretched out as much as you can. You want it as straight a line as possible. One of the things you need to remember when you're putting this guy together, it's real important here, is this jog that's in here. you want to make sure that that is hooked on this little latch right here. And I'll see if we can get a good picture of it here. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to slide that guy through there and get the latch hooked in there in that little kink that's in the inner cable there itself. Okay. Before you do this, you want to make sure that before you get this guy connected up and tightened down, you want to make sure that the black plunger is pushed in the down position. What that means is that's going to be, this cable is going to be all the way out. So when you push on it, it's going to pull it in, and that's what triggers the thing to cut it loose. So if you're making sure that the black plunger is down, you can go ahead and hook this guy together. This is just a 7/16 inch end wrench is what you need for that. Go ahead and put the black cable housing inside in between the two little green clamps and snug this down. And again, this doesn't take a lot of force. It's just enough to snug it on there and make sure that it doesn't come loose. So basically you want these two black spacers touching on the top. Once you've got that done, you should be ready to hook up the system to the track and mount the foam bumpers. Next on the list of things to do is we're going to go ahead and assemble the bumper assembly, the power head, and the track section. And part of that that's kind of tricky is getting the cable out of there. So again, you want to make sure that the black plunger is pushed all the way down on the trigger mechanism, and we've got the cable stretched nice and straight. So what we're going to do here, we're going to go ahead and pull this 1/2 inch nut off of there and hold on to this guy tight, because you want to make sure that if the black plunger is not pushed all the way down, it doesn't get away from you. But if it's pushed down all the way, when you pull on it, it should come out nice and easy and lock into place, because those dogs are working and the black plunger is down like it's supposed to be. So go ahead and pull out a couple of feet there. And the next thing that we're going to do is go ahead and put the track onto the power head assembly. And when you put these guys together, you want that track section butted up hard against the power head. What that's going to do is it's going to keep everything nice and tight, keep things from bouncing around on you. From there, we're going to go ahead and stick the cable through this notch that's cut in the bottom of the foam, right through here. Just push that through there. Make sure it's free and it's not getting caught on anything. And then we can go ahead and put the 1/2 inch washer and the 1/2 inch nut back on and snug everything up. And again, you want to make sure that the track section is pushed up hard up against the power head unit, and you want to make sure that this the foam bumper assembly is also pushed all the way up hard up against the back of the track section. Go ahead and snug those guys down nice and tight. Make sure nothing's going to move on you in there. The last step in this process of getting this thing set up and ready to rock and roll is hooking the cable to the trolley system itself. So there's going to be a little carabiner down there on the bottom, and it's real easy. Just hook the cable right through the carabiner and make sure that you run that lock nut all the way down on there. And what I like to do is I like to have the nut to where when you tighten it down, it's going down. And what that'll do is just as it bounces around or whatever, it's going to want to tighten itself up instead of loosening itself. So from there, when you've got it set up right and you've got this pushed out a little ways, when you push on it, you should hear a clicking noise. And what that is that's the dogs locking in and making sure that that thing's not going to come back in when it, make sure that everything's working the way it's supposed to. So there's your quick assembly video on the MGM Attack Target. If you got any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to give us a shout. That's what our customer service folks are there to do. If you want to contact us via phone, it's 888-767-7371, or you can get a hold of us via mgmtargets.com.